Welcome today to this beautiful webinar. We're going to hear a bit more about starting your own business in the ocean realm today. I just wanted to start with a quick acknowledgement of country and to acknowledge the Wajib people from the Noongar Nation, who are the traditional custodians of the land on which I stand today, and also the traditional custodians of all the lands from where you're dialing in today. I pay my respects to their elders past and present, and I extend that respect to all Indigenous peoples attending this webinar or watching its recording, especially Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. So today it's a pleasure to receive 4 speakers. We have Julia Reisser from Uluu, Alicia Sutton from Karajoa, Mark Wilson from Blue Logistical Solutions, and Tulio Rossi from Animate Your Science. And I'm really excited to hear the stories they have to share about their path to starting their own business. And without further ado, I will hand it over to them. Maybe Julia, would you like to start?
Hello. Yes. Yes. So I'm Julia, and I'm co-founder of Uluu, which is in a nutshell fermenting seaweed into a plastic substitute. And yeah, I'm quite excited about this business because it's made out of a marine crop, aka seaweed, that if we do in the proper way can bring a lot of positive externalities to ocean health. And then the material that we are replacing plastic with is called PHAs, and they open up a broader range of end-of-life solutions. So it's a material that's reusable, but also recyclable, and most important, in my opinion, home compostable. So yeah, and my background, I come from academic background. I've done oceanography in Brazil. My honors and my masters were on feeding ecology of sea turtles. So that's how I'm connected to seaweed. I was looking at seaweed varieties that green turtles were feeding upon in a Brazilian marine reserve. Then I moved to Australia to learn English, did my PhD, which was supposed to be about turtles, but ended up being about plastics, which is something that turtles are eating a lot of as well. And after my PhD, decided to get out of academia because the problems that I was keen to understand and help tackle required a lot of time to get somewhere. So the KPI of publishing wasn't very compatible with that, at least from my point of view. So yeah, I got a job in a non-for-profit called the Ocean Cleanup, working with engineers to basically develop machines to grab rubbish out of oceans and rivers. Yeah, it was a great experience. Kept publishing there, actually. My only Nature paper is from that time. But yeah, then after that, work at Ames for a while, actually, with Mark Meekan and Carlos Duarte. That was great too. But then was called upon by Mindaru Foundation, which was quite exciting to help them get started with an initiative on plastics. But yeah, over time, wanted to go more into entrepreneurship to have that kind of freedom around being able to polish the idea and something that I was truly driven to work on, and felt that business was the right vehicle where you actually don't rely on grants. So the auction, which is the cash, it's something that if you do business well, is something that's ongoing through profit. And then, you can kind of try at least having an impact that's long-term and it's kind of self-sufficient. So it comes from that thinking about impact investment that I learned during my time at Mindaru. So yeah, I don't know if that's useful, but that's a little bit about Uluu, which is the startup I'm working on, and my journey to date.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Julia. I'm sure the audience will have questions, and maybe we keep them for the end of the webinar, and then we can ask all of the presenters. Alicia, do you want to follow on?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Rita, and thank you for the introduction. Hi everyone online. I'm co-director of Carajoa Marine Consulting, which is a very small marine consultancy based in Perth, Western Australia. So my background was on zoology and marine biology, focused mainly for my undergrad, and then going on to do honours and PhD, I moved into a biological oceanography focus, particularly looking at krill and the Uluu current off Western Australia. My career path has followed in the marine sciences, so it has had a bit of a deviation early on. So when I did finish my PhD, there weren't many jobs around in the field, so I actually became a part-time gardener, which I really loved, getting out and about and gardening. It was fantastic, and it kept me active and part in kind of involved in an interest that I knew would last forever. So while I was part-time gardening, I also took up some part-time work as a research associate with the Centre for Whale Research, helping them to develop and write research papers, as well as finishing off my own research from my PhD as well, my own papers for that. It wasn't long after that year of doing a mix of things that myself and a friend started our own business, which was Carajoa, and this ran for about 8 years. And then in 2024, I joined WAMSI, the WA Marine Science Institution, as a full-time research manager, which is where I am now. So I guess the rest of what I'll explain about is kind of how I went into business and then have gone kind of out of business, but what I've learned along the way. It's a really, when we think about how we decided to go into business, it was really over a discussion at the pub over a beer. It sounds simple, and it seemed like it was back then. So both myself and my business partner had similar thoughts over how good it would be to run our own business, work on projects that we're really interested, and pick and choose who we wanted to work with. At the time, I also wasn't really that enthused about progressing in academia, so I was open to exploring other opportunities that would still involve a good research element. We started Carajoa, and we're a very small business, so there was just two of us, and we were both the directors as well as the principal scientists working on the projects. But we were quite a complementary team, which is what I think we were excited about when we started, and we thought it could work. So I could bring a lot of skills focused heavily on, desktop-based skills like writing and reporting and analytics. And then my business partner was quite strong in logistics and field work, such as in the commercial diving space. So we knew that we could go for projects, drawing those skills together that could then, complete a whole project from field through to the reporting components. But we did also want we didn't want the marine science, the consulting of it to kind of be aimed at large corporations like oil and gas. We were very keen to kind of keep it smaller and more niche, with more of a research focus, and just to choose projects that aligned with our values further in conserving the marine environment. And that meant we ended up working with organisations like the WA Marine Science Institution, state government departments here in Western Australia, as well as the Nature Conservancy. And our projects ranged from seagrass, little penguins, marine parks, shellfish reefs, and we got to incorporate strategic planning, conservation action planning, as well as like the risk assessments, literature review and data management sides of those projects as well. So definitely going from PhD into consulting meant that I went from a specialist to a generalist pretty quickly. So I don't think we didn't do any krill related taxonomy work, which was my field through the business. I did some side projects, but it just went in a different direction, and it was great. We got to cover all of the different types of projects I just mentioned, and it meant that it set me up with a more generalist skill set as well, on top of what I had learned doing my PhD. So that was a great learning and growth experience for me. My I'm also involved with the Australian Marine Sciences Association, AMSA. So I got involved with that society, which is a professional society of marine scientists, when I was a student. So it meant that I was always attending events and conferences where I could meet a lot of people across the country and across Western Australia to grow that network. But it wasn't just about the network, it was just awareness of what's happening at the national level, what other projects are happening. And it was that awareness that I think was really helpful for getting my role with WAMSI as a research manager, because we work on large collaborative projects. So having that awareness and that network is really important for that role. So that's something that having that experience has definitely helped me grow in my career. And when you are consulting, like as in my case, you get to work with different organisations, and one of them was WAMSI, and I consulted with them for about 6 years, which then led to a full-time role. So I think I loved that. Like, I love being able to be open to those opportunities, and that those connections that I made during consulting has led to the role that I'm in now. So I guess it is a full-time role that I'm in now as a research manager, and my business partner is also in another role, full-time role with another consultancy who we made connections with through our own business. So at the moment, Karajoa still exists, but it's not currently operational because we're quite enjoying dedicating our time to these other roles. But I think there's comfort in knowing that it's there and we can pop in and out of operating our own business and following our own ventures as needed over the course of our career. So I think it's nice having it running there, but we're both quite happy in our current roles with other business, other organisations. How am I going for time, Rita? I can keep going a little bit more. I can pause there and hand over.
Good. You can talk some more if you want.
Yeah. Okay. No problem. I guess I've been thinking about how, like, if you're wanting to start your own business, I had a couple of tips there, and one is I don't think it has to be all or nothing. If you're considering it and it's daunting, maybe just start with 1 or 2 days a week. So certainly earlier with Karajoa, as it first started, I was doing a couple of days a week, but I was also working as a seasonal lecturer for an international exchange program, as well as continue working with the Centre for Whale Research. So there's no reason why, if you're wanting to try it, it doesn't have to be all or nothing full time. You can do it alongside perhaps some more stable work to begin with, so until your network and your confidence grows. And that's certainly what happened with us. I think collaboration is really key, particularly if you don't have that skill set. So we were mindful as well with projects we were undertaking. Do we have the skills, and can we collaborate if we don't? So I'm not sure if it resonates with everyone on the call, but I'm not a competitive person. So I would much rather collaborate and share the opportunity and get a better result than try and overstretch or oversell my capabilities. So that's something I think would be worth considering if you're thinking about starting your own business. And I guess one of the last things is that network I was talking about that has grown over time, and that you can all certainly grow in your own career paths. That was our key to finding projects. So we were often recommended or approached for work, and this really suited our small team, like 2 of us, in terms of our capacity. And we didn't have to go out searching and tendering, but if you did want to grow, then you could expect to put a good amount of energy into proposals and pitches and tendering and things like that. So it suited our small team, but yeah, the network was key there for us finding our work. And lastly, I guess just wanting to say, because I have followed a career that has led me to being mainly desktop based, my opportunities to get in the water are through citizen science programs, which I love. So around the same time as starting the business, like Karajoa, we also started a citizen science organisation monitoring seagrass over at Wodjima or Rottnest Island off Perth, and that's called WADI, the WA Divers for Diversity Incorporated. So we used our collective skills to train volunteers in seagrass monitoring, and often that was students coming through the marine biology courses. And as a committee, our committee is made up of marine and environmental scientists, so we knew how to QA/QC our data, analyse and interpret it. So for me, being able to give back to the marine science community through that citizen science organisation has been fantastic, and it's still running to this day. I think it's been like eight years. So that was I love being involved with that. It's also, I'm not commercially qualified to get out and do diving or survey related work for paid work. So being able to do it in a volunteer capacity and having those opportunities there, I think have been fantastic, and one that everyone can get involved with. And I guess staying involved with AMSA as well. Currently I'm the president nationally, and I get to help promote other people's science and projects across the marine science community, and really I've seen it diversify our committees and our national councils, and even our conferences has diversified from having marine scientists in the research space through to consultants and NGOs. So it's a really broad mix, the combination of people involved in AMSA now, which means when you go to the conference, you can connect with other consultants and other not-for-profits. It's not just those in academia. So I think I'll stop there, Rita. I've probably taken up a lot more time.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Alicia. Tulio, would you like to go next?
I would love to. All right, good. Hello, everyone. It's great to be here among fellow ocean lovers. I am Dr. Tulio Rossi, founder and director at Animate Your Science, science communication agency based in Adelaide, South Australia. And to tell you a bit about myself, I'll just share my story, which might be the best way to go. So I'll take you back to 2016 when I was in my third year of my PhD, and I finally had a paper to talk about published and accepted. Was a bit of a struggle, but eventually we got there. And what happened as I published that paper is that as the initial excitement faded away, I looked at it, I reread it once it was all nicely formatted, and I realized, damn, who will want to read this thing, honestly? Only a very small group of people, fellow scientists, but nobody else. And my research was about ocean acidification and the impact it has on fish and the marine soundscape. So pretty important stuff with global implications. So I was not happy with that. I wasn't happy with the idea that only a dozen people would ever read my paper, because it felt the potential impact of that research was limited, was on a leash, limited by the intrinsic limit of the peer-reviewed paper format. And so that pushed me to do something that almost nobody was doing back then, which was to make an animated video about it. 3 minutes long, simple, anybody could understand it. I should say that what helped is that I had a background in graphic design, so I was not starting from absolute zero, but still that doesn't make me an animator. So I sacrificed a couple of weekends and a few evenings, and I came up with this 3 minute long video, and I submitted it to a number of competitions. And it had a success that I could not even comprehend. Like, it won 3 different prizes, thousands of dollars in cash prizes. But the best part is that it reached thousands, because these competitions had an audience of hundreds, not thousands of people each. And so it became a platform for people to find the video, and then learn about the research. So it was a fantastic experience. And I then talked about it at a scientific conference, and I essentially shared the story and how I made the video and all the principles behind it and why I think it worked so well. And the response I got was very warm, actually warmer than I ever got when talking about my science strictly. And lots of researchers came to me and said, hey, I love what you did. I wish I could do the same for my own research, but I just don't know how, or I don't have the time. And so that was the moment when the light bulb went on. And for the first time in my life, I could see that maybe I could start a business and help these people. There's something here I can do that they don't have time to do, or they don't have the skills to do. So that was the beginning. And yeah, before then, I just worked as a freelance graphic designer in my late teenage years, early 20s, parallel to school and uni, mostly for the fun of it. So yeah, I basically combined two skill sets that I had that I never planned of combining, but I found that when you combine seemingly unrelated fields like graphic design and science, you create a very small niche. But small niche is a great place where to be for a business, because it means you're specialist, you're not a generalist, and so you have few competitors, and there will be people in the world that need what you can offer. So it's my first lesson for you: be a specialist, not a generalist. And then I started a business with absolutely no knowledge of business and no money. I finished my PhD, I handed in my thesis, and on the graduate center office, there was this poster, Startup Hub. And I thought, okay, I have this half-baked idea in my head. Let's give this a shot. And I got lucky. I went into this Startup Hub, and as part of the deal, it was not only a place where to have a desk, where to work, but also mentors with decades of experience in business. And so that's the second thing I would recommend you to consider if you are coming out of a university. I think all universities, or at least most, have a startup hub of some sort. And that can be a great place where to start to broaden your horizon, because I was so oblivious about the whole startup ecosystem in Australia, but it's huge. In academia, we're so in a bubble. We really don't realize that there's a whole world out there. So that was really good for me, because these mentors pushed me to think bigger. Initially, I still had a freelancer mentality, but they confronted me and said, hey, sounds great, but what you want to do is just to create a glorified job for yourself. So, okay, it hit me pretty hard, but it was a fair criticism. And so that pushed me to think bigger. As I started thinking about building a team. And so that's eventually what happened. It was a very good thing for me to have those mentors early on. And so that was 9 years ago, and in these 9 years, the business has grown and has gone through its ups and downs. At the moment, there's 4 permanent staff and many freelancers that help us as needed on a project-by-project basis. And we help researchers globally with their visual science communication, be it an animated video or a graphic. That's our specialty. But also the business has changed through time, and now, probably because of the difficult financial situation generally in the education sector, we get less and less demand for our services. But there's another side of the business, which is the training side, so workshops and online courses, that instead is going up. And since about a year and a half ago, I started teaching researchers how to use AI. That's really going up. So it's the one thing in my business that is now doing the best. So an example of pivoting, I would say, over a 10-year span I think it's just normal that things change. And what used to be trendy 10 years ago might not be as trendy today. And so you just need to adapt and go where the opportunities are. I want to share a couple of, how am I going with time? Good. Okay, I'll share a couple of lessons learned. Commit to lifelong learning. I still today, 9 years in my business journey, have a business coach. I pay about $10,000 a year for my business training. I go to 3 or 4 conferences a year in Sydney to meet my business coach. It's not a one-on-one, it's like a big group of hundreds of business owners, and it keeps me up to date. Every time I learn something new. I love learning, and it makes me grow and stretches my imagination and knowledge and thinking. So that's something I would totally recommend to everyone. Do invest in your own growth. It's like a never-ending university, if you like. But since you've been through university, you probably already like learning, so that's a good place where to start. And don't underestimate what university PhD, for example, gives you. It doesn't teach you marketing, but it teaches you other very important stuff, such as the ability to figure it out. When you're in your PhD, you're on the edge of the human knowledge, and you get to a point where there's literally nobody you can ask to. You just need to try and figure it out, and that's gets you used to discomfort and uncertainty, and now that's a constant thing also in business. So that's a very good, I would say, transferable skill from research to business. And I'll conclude with a funny feeling I got early on in my business journey. So as some of the other speakers mentioned, they left academia because all the reasons we know, job insecurity, relying on grants, which, often you can have just a perfect grant application, but you just don't get lucky and don't get anything. So I hated that thought of relying on this thing that felt more like a lottery than a fair, a fair system. So strangely, I felt more in control of my life as a startup founder with zero stability, and the chances, the odds are against you as a startup founder, but I felt more in control of my life than if I kept going with the postdoc and so on, because the job insecurity is just awful, as we know, in academia. So I don't know, I had no real job security, but I felt more in control of my life. It was a feeling thing, and it made me live better, I would say. I felt that the results I was going to get were more directly correlated to my actions and not just the lottery of grants. So I think business can be a fairer, more fair system if you've got something that people value. That's as simple as that. You're going to make it. That's it. I'll stop here, but happy to talk more later in question time.
Cool. That's awesome. Thank you, Tulio. Mark, I will share your PDF. Is that okay?
Yeah. Just let me try once more. I've just downloaded the app. Does that work? Otherwise, I'll let you present for me.
Doesn't.
Yes, no? No?
It's all black.
All black. I don't know what's going on there anyway. Thank you.
Yeah. Can everyone see?
Slide back to the start. Beautiful. I'm going to say slide a lot, so yeah, I apologize for that. Morning, everybody. I'm Mark Wilson. I run a company called Blue Logistical Solutions. Slide. So today, what you won't get from me is a lot of business 101. You won't get information on operational efficiency or financial management or sales and marketing strategies. But what you will get, slide, is a clear example of opportunities, learnt skills, passion, determination that can be transformed into a business. Slide. So my business journey started, my business journey started long before 2024, but in 2024, I started Blue Logistical Solutions. Slide reader. And in 2025, late last year, I started Blue Capacity. So a little bit more on that later. Slide, please, Rita. So at BLS, Blue Logistical Solutions, we empower government agencies, research organisations, unis, NGOs by delivering cost-effective support for your research, operational projects. Basically, we manage the behind the scenes of your research so you can focus on your science. Slide, please, Rita. So, so the 5 main sort of areas that we work in is logistics, so movement of equipment, samples, every kind of people across domestic and international projects. We do a lot of work around regulatory requirements and international customs. We manage lots of events, project workshops, international conferences, scientific events, organise travel solutions for developing nations. I'm doing some work with Madagascar University at the moment, helping them out with a workshop. I also love getting dirty as well, so domestic and international field programs, on the ground field and lab operations, mainly in the blue carbon space. And then similar to Tulio, probably not as good as him, I do a fair bit of scientific comm stuff. So yeah, photography, drones, video production, web development, and social media management. Slide, please, Rita. This is an older slide, so yeah, I should have updated this, but yeah, we've these are the projects I've worked. This is an IORA specific, Indian Ocean specific slide. So these are the projects that we've worked with and will continue to work with, as well as delegate travel, the red pins there. So over the last sort of few years, it's 317 travellers across 24 different countries for various workshops and other capacity building initiatives and all the like. So some of the companies that I'm currently working with, various universities, IORA, UWA, Australian Government, Blue Carbon Initiative or Conservation International. Slide, please, Rita. So I guess, how did we get here? From an early age, I grew up on a farm just north of Perth here. So my mum and dad were farmers. I still sort of say that it is one of the toughest jobs on earth. But the one thing they did for me, apart from giving me every opportunity available to them, was ingrained, I think, a business or entrepreneurial spirit from a pretty young age. So things like recognizing opportunity, take calculated risk, make sure you do that, calculated risk, and innovate or create value. Slide, please, Rita. So graduated high school in '98. I didn't really focus that much at school, but I did move towards subjects and areas that sort of were actually business related. I left school and became a DJ, producer and promoter. We promoted nights across Australia and raves and things like that. During that time, towards the end of that time, I bought into a gym's mowing franchise, so to keep me fit and things like that, keep me out of nightclubs, which is probably the most important thing. So I did that for a few years. Slide, please, Rita. In 2008, I decided I needed a real job, so I went and started work at CSIRO at the Floreat site there. Those in WA will know exactly where that is, or used to be. So I started in the store there, so managing the store, and moved through various sort of roles at CSIRO in the early years, logistics manager, and then sort of more into the facilities management and operations of the site. Slide, please, Rita. So during that time, my wife and I decided to jump into business ourselves. We started, she's a hairdresser. We started our own salon in Scarborough in 2015, and then decided to get really crazy and buy another one, or start another one in Subiaco in 2017. So we were managing, eight staff. Total chaos. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. This was a lot more detailed slide, but 2016, I think, was my turning point, and I moved, while still at Cyro, I moved into the marine space. There was a lot more pretty pictures and opportunities. So I started to get opportunities managing sort of the operational side of these marine projects. A lot of them were sort of international DFAT funded projects. Did a lot of work on the Uluu Outlook projects, with the turtle program there. Slide, please, Rita. Again, this was a fancier slide as well. And then as I went along, sort of over the years past 2016, I moved into managing larger scale operations, logistics and operations for, again, these research projects. I was still doing a full-time sort of facilities management job at Cyro, but also got to dabble into the world of science. Something I love the most was working with young people. Managing logistics and operations, which are sort of 6 month blocks of work for Australia awards and sort of fellowship programs. A friend Rita up there was on one or two of them, those programs. I also managed domestic and international field programs across Indonesia and Thailand. And then also a bunch of domestic and international conferences, workshops across states here in Australia and across various countries across the Indo-Pacific. Slide, please, Rita. So in June 24, I decided it was time to take the plunge, and I left Cyro and started Blue Logistical Solutions. So since that time, slide, please, Rita. Since that time, I've been sort of jetting all over the place. Various initiatives with, again, with young people, early career ocean professionals, managing conferences, or event management across, again, across mainly Thailand and Sri Lanka. Seagrass mapping field programs we did in last year, actually, in Timor. Blue carbon lab practices, capacity building, processing training, again across Timor and PNG. Some more conferences overseas. And then sort of late last year and into this year, starting to branch out and work with international organisations, Conservation International, some Australian government stuff as well. So slide, please, Rita. These will go fairly quickly. And the next one. So what have I learnt, or what have we learnt? So the first thing I can say is have a clear idea or an opportunity, research the market, find a gap. So that's what I did. I found a gap, develop a niche, whatever it is. And the main point to that is plan again. Next slide, please, Rita. If you can, seek support, family, friends, collaborators, colleagues, anyone that you can find that'll listen to you. Any bit of advice that you can get is all helpful. Next slide, please, Rita. Start small. I think Alicia and Tulio both sort of touched on this. Start small in your local community, town, city, and sort of branch out from there. Next slide, please, Rita. The most important point, back yourself, take the plunge. There's no good time to start, and the three guys before me will say there's no good time to start. Just jump in, take the plunge, have a go. Next slide, please, Rita. One thing they others will never tell you. Prepare to struggle. You are going to struggle. It hurts. Business really hurts. If you're all in, it hurts and you will struggle. Next slide, please, Rita. Major one for me is surrounding myself with people that know more than you, whether that's a mentor or just advice from someone or someone that can support you, whether that's a good accountant or a good financial advisor. People that know more than you is very important. Next slide, please, Rita. Oh, look, struggle some more. You will question every decision you've made and why you're doing this and why you aren't working a 9-to-5 job or something safe and easy. Next slide, please, Rita. Put money aside. The tax man will always come looking for you. Have some money there in your bank for contingency. Don't live off credit cards. Don't run your business that way. Putting money aside. In savings in your sort of normal life is important, but also in business. Next slide, please, Rita. Alicia touched on this one. You never know where a coffee or a beer is going to lead. So network, it's really important. Some of mine, I can say, some of those business deals and opportunities have come along just having a beer with somebody. It's really important. You don't have to drink. You can, obviously. Lemonade is also. And Julio sort of touched on this one as well. Don't be afraid to pivot. Your business will take you in one direction and you may hit a wall or something. Another opportunity may come up over here. Pivot. Don't be afraid to do it. Next slide, please, Rita. And an extra bonus point I had was science is important. And obviously the reason that you've got into research, doing your PhD, bachelor's, whatever, but don't miss out on other opportunities to learn other skills. So whether that's diving on someone else's fieldwork or jumping into a lab with somebody or whatever, those other skills are just as important if you want to go and start a business. Next slide, please, Rita. Am I all right for time? I've probably got a couple more minutes. So last year, after on the way home from 2 conferences in Sri Lanka that we were managing, I decided that I wanted to start giving back to the community that I sort of work in. So I sort of spent the 2 weeks there listening to young scientists that were just would blow you away with the skills and their knowledge. But I think the key point to that was what they did, or the amount of work they did with so very little, was something I thought maybe I can sort of help there. So next slide, please, Rita. So late last year, I developed the Blue Capacity program. So it's a micro grant program for ECOPs. This round is based in Iora nations, but it aims to build or support the operational side or operational activities of science. So and capacity building, helping students or ECOPs build professional networks or whatever else. So next slide, Rita. So the eligible activities are sending someone to a training or a workshop or a conference to go present their work, field work, logistics or coordination, purchasing a small piece of equipment that might sort of help someone deliver their research, collaborative opportunities, whether that's a knowledge exchange, a workshop or whatever, and then communication, something to do with educational initiatives. So the criteria for that is so 6 years, or it's defined. We define an ECOP as someone 6 years past their highest degree. Currently, as I said in this round, citizens based in Eora nations. It must align with a blue economy theme, and the grants are awarded to individuals rather than institutions. We want to support young people, not institutions or large projects that, can't be bothered spending money sending someone to a conference or whatever else. Next slide, please, Rita. Oops. So the funding at this stage is $1,000 US. It's a competitive program. The funding can be paid before the activity or as a reimbursement after the activity. Next slide, please, Rita. Applications, as I mentioned, it's a competitive process reviewed by a review panel who have just finalised putting that together for this round. The 5 sort of assessment criteria is relevance around blue economy themes, your impact, feasibility, the financial viability, how realistic the budgeting is, and the connection, the creativity and potential for collaboration or knowledge exchange. Next slide, please, Rita. So it's a pretty basic application. It's a project brief, some supporting documentation, and a letter of support from your line manager, university, or host institution. So there's some. I'm happy to share these slides with everyone after this. Otherwise, there's a QR code that may or may not work with the flattened PDF. So unfortunately, I should have been speaking to you a month ago, but the first round applications are closed tomorrow. So if you were to put in or if you did want to put in an application, you've got a day. But yeah, we'll have some more a second round later this year. That's it. Thanks, Rita.
Wonderful. Thanks a lot, Mark. Thank you to all of the speakers. Some common themes, common struggles, common advice. I'd like to open to the audience. If anyone would like to ask a question, if you don't want to share your screen and speak your question, you can also just put it in the chat and I can read it to you. Otherwise, I'm also happy to ask questions myself. Yeah, I'll start. So like I said, many common challenges, common advice. I'm curious, did any of you take any training on how to be a business owner, like courses, or I don't know, things related to how do you do your finances, your tax, or I don't know, Mark was saying, you know, put some money aside for contingency and make sure you figure out your taxes right. So did any of you actually feel like you needed to do some training to be able to handle certain aspects of being a business owner?
Okay.
Already commented on this earlier, so yes, training all the way, all the time, and never stops. That's my view. But
yeah, I agree with Tulio. I don't do business management or business management training like sort of Tulio suggested he does. I am a big proponent of just getting in there and trying it and learning sort of as you go along. That's just my style, I think. So, but yeah, it's just there's countless videos and opportunities that you can and conferences that you can go to. Yeah.
I can add that I wish I had learnt a bit more about business management. I was in a very fortunate position where my business partner had a previous business and had a partner who was a small business accountant. And so I was very fortunate to be able to glean the knowledge from them and be guided that way and learn that way. But I guess doing it yourself and getting hands in, I think means it sticks with you. So I'd say that I would never, I wouldn't be giving anyone business advice on how to start a business, because I don't think I retained it well enough to do that. But yeah, I recommend it.
Yeah, I think in my case, like I would just tap into some of the tips that were said before, and I think is related to that, you know. I think the first one is the collaboration that Alicia spoke about. And I came as an academic, I was obsessed about this idea, you know, at least I saw product planet fit. Customer one came a bit later, but like in terms of when you talk about policymaker, let's give a hard time to petrochemical plastic. There was a hole in the market, but I didn't know anything about finance, for instance. So I think that collaboration piece, one that is, at least for me, was transformational, is first a self-awareness on where is your strengths and your weaknesses. And that comes not only the technical skills, but also the soft skills. Do I decide too slow, or do I decide too fast? Kind of that kind of thing. And then the key first collaboration, at least for me, was a co-founder that would have complementary soft and hard skills. So, you know, my co-founder, Michael, he has a finance brain, you know, and at least at that start where we couldn't afford staff, we could divide and conquer a bit and do that way. You know, I think being humble enough to know that you're not going to learn everything, but you can surround yourselves with people, I think is something very important. And I think at early stages, considering a co-founder and then finding the right one can be quite transformational. And I think on the same vein, Tulio spoke about a startup ecosystem. Me, as a scientist, before I thought funding was ARC and CSCs and whatever, you have it. And then we have the academic conferences. But there is a whole world out there on accelerators and just catching up with other people passionate about starting things from scratch. And you can learn a lot from just hearing their journeys. And then there is the learning on the doing, you know, like Mark said as well. Like some stuff, at least for me, like doesn't matter how many books I read about it or how much people tell me things, like start the customer conversation at the start, for instance. Me as a scientist, I was like, yeah. But nowadays I see 4 years ago, I was way too obsessed on the product and not doing enough on the customer, right? So that is also just getting used to struggle and get used to, like, you're going to suck most of the time, but then you're going to learn and you're going to create those scars. And there is nothing better than real life for you to learn. You know, there is nothing better than feeling that failure or that, oh my God, I should have done that, you know, 1 year ago or whatever it might be, that then it just gets in your brain and then you just get stronger and better over time. So I think it's like, particularly us as a scientific background, with some, at least for me, you can over-engineer, like, no, I need to go and do this MBA or whatever it was. I started the MBA and then drop it. But, you know, you feel that you need to know everything, and there is no better way to learn than just getting started. And then you're going to learn and you're going to make some stuff, you're going to make mistakes. Some things you're going to surround yourself with a good team or a good co-founder, whatever it is. So I think for the group, the audience and the people that are listening it, if you have something, a clear idea or a clear opportunity, like Mark said, that you want to execute and you have passion and you're going to have the resilience to go forward, just get started, because you're going to learn and you're going to surround yourself with people that can also help you out.
Yeah, there's no better time than now, right?
Exactly. Just get started. Yeah. So you start failing now, you know.
Yeah. And Tulio, you did mention the commitment to lifelong learning and the business coach. I was wondering if you would share, because you said it's a coach with a larger group of people, right? If you could share the webpage, I think it might be really nice.
Oh, absolutely.
So because, I mean, I imagine you get coaching on a bunch of different aspects of being a business owner, right? Not just tax, for example. So it would be a really cool resource to share with the audience.
Absolutely, I'll do it right now. It's called Business Blueprint.
And yes, you're adding to the chat.
I just wanted to add something about the startup hub ecosystem, which I think is important for people coming from academia. So I noticed, I transitioned from a research lab to a startup hub, and the air you breathe in those two environments is so different. Unfortunately, in a lot of research labs, unless you have a rare, great leader, the air you breathe is a bit toxic, and there's lots of mental health issues hanging around, and people just are not at their best, I would say, unfortunately. In the startup hubs, it was so refreshing because everyone instead was full of optimism and felt more empowered about the future. It was a completely different air, much healthier air to breathe, I would say. That's how I felt. So quick note about that if you feel a bit tired of breathing the research lab air.
And I think on that, learning or surrounding ourselves with mentors and things, there is quite a few, like if you are early stage, you have an idea or opportunity that you want to fill in the gap. There's quite a few accelerators and things like that you can go into. For Uluu, we wouldn't be here without an accelerator called StartMate, which I highly recommend having a look at. They're over East, but they work across the country. And for me, like what Tulio just spoke about, like when I got into the accelerator back in 2021, you just see that change in the culture, on what the culture around being a good scientist, and then a culture around doing a good startup, that, a good business and all that. And there is a massive spirit of teamwork and helping each other and among the founders, and then the successful founders, which are now angel investors into their fund. So, and then I recommend people having a look at is this community called StartMate, which I find very cool because the investors are mostly ex-founders. So it's really focused on those founders coming through the accelerator, which was transformational for me on a personal level, but also for our startup as well.
Thank you I wish we could keep going, but I'm mindful that everyone has other commitments. I just wanted to share a QR code for everyone that's attending to provide us with a little feedback on today's webinar. If you have a moment, it's really brief, so it won't take much of your time, and then we can keep improving for the next webinars. And I also just wanted to finish with a comment that Vicky Lowe put on the chat. And she's saying that she started a business with a colleague who did her PhD at the same time, Lawler and Low Micropaleontology. And she's had 3 contracts so far, but it is slow going. So it's nice to see that there are some people who have done this successfully. It's very daunting having a very infrequent income. The hardest thing is that we do need things like permits and lab stuff, which is really hard to do when you're just 2 people with very little income. So I hope that today's webinar has been helpful to you, Vicky, and to everyone who's attending and watching it later on the YouTube channel. And I hope to perhaps host the 4 of you again on another webinar sometime in the future, and you can share a bit more as well with all of us. And thank you again for coming, for the speakers and the audience as well. And I hope to see you in late May for our 3rd webinar episode.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.